I am here to tell you about the true fact that the ancient Egyptians were definitely vampires, and to teach you to see past big archaeology's lies and anti-vampire agenda. My evidence comes in 3 parts: the mummification process, the burial conditions, and a case study, because it's true and real. So, the mummification process. You've all heard about mummification. You know how it works. In general, the abdominal organs and brains are removed. This has not been disproved. The brain is completely destroyed and discarded. Everyone's seen The Walking Dead. How do you kill a monster? By destroying the brain. So clearly, this was not an effort to remove anything that could cause decomposition. It was an effort to destroy the brain so that the vampire wouldn't be able to rise from the dead. On the other hand, the heart was left inside the body. This very clearly, we've all kind of learnt about like measures to stop viruses recently. This was because obviously the vampire virus is inside the bloodstream, so by leaving the heart in the body, you avoid contamination of the embalmers. Yes. So yes, that's the pre-mummification process, and obviously everything's stored in jars just to keep things separate, because for anyone who's read Twilight, if the bits of vampire get back together, they can reform and reanimate. So by keeping them inside closed jars, they can't stick back together, the vampire is dead. In terms of mummification, the chest cavity is filled with natron salt and the body is then covered. Again, TV shows are clearly very good sources. If you've seen Supernatural, you know that a line of salt stops any demons. So this is just a very intense version of this. Obviously, salt inside the body, salt around the body. It purifies, it stops any demons from getting in or out. That's why there is salt involved in mummification, and it's nothing to do with the fact that it's a very good preservative. Post-mummification, the now dried out mummy is wrapped very tightly in linen wrappings. If you can imagine being very tightly wrapped in linen wrappings, you can't move. That means that the vampire then can't sit up and grab you because it's all stuck together. And also there are prayers and amulets inside the wrappings, again, to just kind of stop any rising from the dead, any demons. It all makes sense. Additionally, a heavy silver death mask is placed over the head of the mummy. It's very heavy, and the mummy is obviously wrapped in linen, so it can't then sit up. It's very heavy, it keeps it pinned down. Also, how do vampires spread? By biting. With a nice mask over the face, it can't bite you, therefore it can't then infect you as well. There is also a third reason for the silver death mask, which is definitely silver, which is that obviously silver is very well known for, again, being an anti-monster kind of thing. How do you kill a vampire? Silver bullet. A vampire? Werewolf, silver bullets. It must work on vampires as well. In terms of the burial conditions, this is, again, very important. Mummies are always, every single time, buried in several layers of sarcophagi, as we have in this lovely picture that I've not referenced, because why would I need to? Like, each level is going to be another level of difficulty for the vampire to escape and kill you. Again, there are prayers and amulets in the sarcophagi because that's what stops vampires as well, but mainly it's the like hundreds of levels of things and lids stopping them from getting out. Again, the tomb walls, they're covered in even more prayers. There's no other reason for these other than to stop vampires. Entrances. The tombs had warnings on the outside. They are thought to be, by like archaeology as a whole, to be a warning or a curse on anybody who breaks into the tomb. In my real interpretation, it's actually a warning of the fact there is a vampire inside who will kill you. The curses aren't real, it's just the vampire. That's something we can all agree on. Again, the tombs were very well hidden. This is just another way of preventing the vampire from being released, disturbed, and like escaping into the world to kill more people. Yeah, like if you're gonna get into the tomb, it's gonna upset some people, and it's gonna upset the vampire's gonna escape, and it's gonna kill you. Very well planned talk. Now, there's a malaria tomb that definitely. The remains of... You know what? I was going to try and pronounce it properly, but why should I want to? I'm going to say Watye. Was discovered in the necropolis at Saqqara. He is thought to have died of malaria, and if he did, then everybody else in the tomb did as well. That's just science. But instead of malaria, it was vampirism, because obviously malaria spreads via blood, so does vampirism. It just makes sense, and I even have a source on this one, it's the Express. Also, another very famous case of a curse linked to a mummy was obviously that of the Howard Carter expedition that found Tutankhamun. Very famously, everybody involved died very soon afterwards. Don't look at the numbers, just trust me. One of particular note is Lord Carnarvon, who is very well known to have died of a mosquito bite. This is a cover-up. He died of vampirism, he was a vampire. In conclusion, the ancient Egyptians were vampires, don't question me. Does anybody have any questions? I'm sure if anybody did any research, there would be. Yes, and it's also definitely a cover-up. Hello? Right at the beginning. It's the very reason that mummification was invented. And the evolution was not in any way linked to preserving things better, it was just because it was more better at stopping vampires from rising and killing people, because obviously there were mistakes happening because the vampirism continued to spread. Well, that's how they discovered it worked. Well, that's actually a myth. Vampires can survive in sunlight. Have you not seen Twilight? That too. It's everything.
See the works of Pratchett.
Well, thank you very much for listening to my talk. I hope I've convinced you. Oh, hang on, sorry. We have a question on the Zoom as well, which is, what is your theory on where vampires went after this period of history? I don't know. I don't need to know. You just have to trust me.